One of the things that you learn about corporate America and where I came from is they wanted me to be the world's greatest generalist. They want you to be good at everything. And so you excel in trying to master all these different crafts. And for me, it was really cool to jump into something that you don't know how to do it, which it's easy to say I've never done that before, therefore I'm not qualified to do it. What corporate America taught me was you don't need to know how to do it. You just need to know how to approach to get the solution or the answer.
This is Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio with your host, Tyler Jorgensen.
Welcome out to Biz Ninja Entrepreneur Radio. I am your host, Tyler Jorgensen, and today I get to catch up with an old friend, Mark Stern, who has, I've known him in business for, I think it's like 9 years, almost a decade through the ClickFunnels and funnel hacking live worlds and through mutual friends. And I've watched as he's built this really amazing business called Custom Box Agency. And I'm going to let him tell you what it is, but I want to all of us please welcome out to the show, Mark Stern.
Tyler, it is so good to be here. Thank you for having me. I can't believe we've not done this before, so I'm excited.
I know. It's wild. Every once in a while, I'm like, how did this person slip through the cracks? Because I know I've wanted you on the show for a while. I want to zoom way back because this is what happens when I know people is sometimes I forget to ask the basic questions. You know, we're both in our 40s. When was that moment in your life when you realized you're an entrepreneur?
You know what? I think even as a kid, I always knew that I had like elements of and I grew up in a Jewish household in Montgomery, Alabama. So it was like isolated from the world. It's such a little pocket how Alabama is. But even as a kid, anytime like the Christmas or like the holiday toy of the year came out, I remember when Furbies came out. And literally called all the stores to see if they had them in stock and had my parents wake up first thing in the morning to get them just to buy the product and then resell it at a higher rate to make money. And I had to be like young teenager, but any of those opportunities as a kid, I think that like the signs were always there that I had this inner entrepreneur, but I just thought corporate America was the only pathway to success. And so that's the path I followed up till 2018 was the trajectory of what everyone else around me did until I finally found the courage to take the leap and start really, scratching that curiosity that is entrepreneurship.
I actually think it's a healthy way to do it. So many, like I never really did the corporate ladder thing. And I think that there's an amazing amount of stability, learning structure, learning systems, learning processes that it happens when you start in the other path. Yeah. And a lot of entrepreneurs benefit from seeing scale and size of corporations and what they do. So what are some positive lessons that you took into entrepreneurship that you learned from the corporate side of life?
I worked at Deloitte Consulting for years, and everything it's almost too extreme. But one of the things that you learn about corporate America and where I came from is they wanted me to be the world's greatest generalist. They want you to be good at everything. And so you excel in trying to master all these different crafts. And for me, it was really cool to jump into something that you don't know how to do it, which it's easy to say I've never done that before, therefore I'm not qualified to do it. What corporate America taught me was you don't need to know how to do it. You just need to know how to approach to get the solution or the answer. And that mindset, honestly, has been the best gift of saying, I can enter any domain that I know nothing about, but I have the frameworks and the systems and the discipline to say, okay, so how would I approach this to get smart or to like establish that baseline so then I can create or innovate whatever makes sense. And so I think that was the best lesson that I learned was not a mentality to, I can't do it because I've never done it before. It's how should I tackle this to get to the outcome regardless of what the challenge is?
Yeah, that's a healthy framework. It makes a lot of sense. So you said in 2018, you finally got the courage to jump out on your own. What was your first business venture?
Oh, it's so funny. I actually have one right here. I started by someone told me that you should do a virtual summit, and neither of us are, newbies when it comes to that. But this idea of like running my own conference virtually, interviewing all these people, and so it was called Clickpreneur for like a digital entrepreneur. And I tried to follow different playbooks, but I couldn't find one that made sense because the model of a virtual summit, it's a lead gen model, but it's an overwhelming amount of content that you're dumping on a lead just for an exchange of an email. And so I was looking at this model saying, how do I make it so people get value out of this or know how to navigate the experience. And we sent a physical product for everyone who bought a ticket, which was actually, I can't believe I have this out right now.
Yeah, it's
Entrepreneur
awesome.
Elements. It was this publication I built in PowerPoint that had a periodic table of elements that every new entrepreneur should know. And so the theme of the summit was making the transition from corporate to entrepreneurship, and kind of what are those fundamentals you need to know. And so that's where it started. And then where it evolved was people kept on saying, how did you do this summit? And then how did you create this physical product with it? And so it kind of was these early days pre-custom box agency of when you tie something physical to a digital experience, it truly takes it to the next level. It's a new opportunity. And I didn't even realize it at the time.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I came before the digital marketing side of things. I came from physical products, right? Where we owned supplement brands and some apparel and other things. So I've always loved the idea, especially with all these info products and digital products, of crossing into the realm of four dimensions and actually getting people to touch and feel and experience things. So I remember when you were doing that, and I think, man, it was great. It was awesome to see. And
great for visibility when you're brand new. And because I knew nothing, I knew no one, and it was like a mini MBA on digital marketing to put together that beast of a summit, like 42 speakers. It was insane. I should not have done that in the way I did it, but I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Well, I saw even like Alex Hormozy when he was doing his last book launch that did over $1 billion or something, that he mailed refrigerator magnets reminding people of when the summit are. He did, or his presentation. And so, it's neat to see it used more and more. And, again, the direct response world has been around a long time. Physical products, they work for a reason. And so many times like digital people forget about it. And so I love that you have really in your current company, Custom Box Agency, you're fully like entering the realm of reality and really getting in people's hands. What led you to launch this product?
It's interesting just seeing trends, because right now we're in this world that you're seeing the rise of digital distrust. You watch a video or a reel, it catches your attention, and you're just like, is this real? And then you're like, wait, no, this is AI, this is Sora, this is something else. The same thing with content. You see all this digital content that's just being pumped out there. And we were already putting billions of pieces of content out there prior to the age of AI. What's cool about physical is it's analog is back. And I think that especially in this age of AI, analog just gets more and more relevant. Having the physical product to complement something digital, give people the tools that they need, gamify the experience, taking that customer journey to the next level. That's for me, it started early on with me just saying, I just wish you would send me the tools and resources for the thing I just bought from you, not make me run through hoops to print things out or go buy things. Because it's this idea you live in, someday I'll get to it. So your intentions are pure, but you never get to it. Whereas if I just sent you what you need, you have it all in front of you, you can get started out of the gates, you remove the obstacle. And so that's kind of where it just started. And then it just evolved into, what is your goal? Is your goal customer acquisition? Is it onboarding and delivery, or is it retention? The customer life cycle is such a brilliant framework. And that's how we anchor our experiences with clients. And so that's just where it evolved. It was never meant to be the business. It was the thing we were doing with everything else. And people started calling us saying, how are you building these physical products? And finally, I woke up at the beginning of COVID and was like, do you really want to be in business of virtual events? Because everyone at the beginning of COVID was overnight expert in virtual events. And the pivot to say, virtual events isn't where I should play, but these physical products complementing these events, it turned competitors into collaborators like that overnight. And really, it allowed me to innovate and create and play how I like to play when it comes to business.
I love it. Now, I'm sure business typically doesn't all go perfectly every time. What were some of the biggest challenges that you had as you were building this, and how'd you guys overcome it?
Yeah, early on, biggest problem was probably me. Is that like I had such a corporate brain and mindset. And one of the lessons that I learned is that corporate America, they celebrated you being the world's greatest generalist. As an entrepreneur, you are not celebrated being the world's greatest generalist. You want to be known for something. And part of it is this belief that I want other people to win. So I have to assume that other people also want me to win. And if I make it too complicated by saying, I do boxes and virtual events and we do YouTube ads and blah, 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 and 400 other things, like it makes it so confusing for people to recommend you. Whereas when we just really hunker down to our zone of genius, and this is why, like, we're not going to build your website or your funnel. We're not going to run your ads. We're very specific in terms of the lane that we play in, but it also allows us to collaborate. And so that was where a lot of this stemmed from. But for me, when we were growing as a business, I remember early days thinking, oh my gosh, I just wish my team would take more responsibility. And it wasn't that they weren't taking more responsibility. It was that I could not let go of the responsibility. And so the more I learned to let go and trust the team and empower them, that has been one of the most magical things. Is the more that they've stepped into their zone of genius and I backed off, how they take ownership of the business. And honestly, what they produce is better than what I produce. So it was very humbling at the same time, but I had to go through a shift as an entrepreneur that was a big one, from a corporate mindset of, well, if it's got to get done, I'm just going to get it done myself, to a more team mentality and what are the systems and structure you have in place. And I can't hold a belief that only I can do this. I have to hold the belief that anyone on my team can master and do what I do, and they can probably do it better than me. And that shift in belief honestly changed the game for me.
Yeah, that's a big change, and one that a lot of entrepreneurs are never able to really get through. So they get stuck in solopreneurship or in just really keeping a low ceiling on their business. What have been some of the biggest wins that happened while you were growing Custom Box Agency that made you realize this is it? Like we're on the right track.
Yeah. The coolest thing about having a physical product is the second that the product lands, when a client, we go through and guide them through the process of building out a physical product, and then they get it in their hands. It is one of my absolute favorite things, because what they're seeing is their genius, their frameworks, how they run their business. Now it's an extension of them in a physical form. So it gets to buy back their time. So that's like part one that for me was like when I see how they get activated. And so many of our clients are just like, you took a part of me and brought it to life in a way that I can share at scale. And then the second part is when you see it in the hands of your customers, like when they start doing unboxings and they do these video reveals, or you see the results. That's kind of where you start to go, there's something more than here than just a box. It's not a swag box. We joke and say swag is stuff without a goal. That's what swag means. Stop sending stuff. Like, give people, like, be intentional. Send them the tools and resources they actually need to be set up for success. And so seeing that play out again and again, that was kind of the early days of like, okay, there's something here that is a new opportunity. And I love that analog and physical is a new opportunity today, because that was the only opportunity in the 80s and 90s. Tony Robbins with his DVD and box sets, that you would see people selling programs that you literally bought cassettes and listened to. That all went away with the rise of digital. And now to see the pendulum go back into seeing the need for physical as a complement to digital, it's just been fun to play in that zone and realize there's something that's relevant in this day and age right now that people aren't tapping into.
Yeah. It's funny. I had a Tony Robbins CD that was a repurpose of a cassette. So it says at one point, it's like, turn the cassette over on side 2 of this cassette. But now I listen to it only on like MP3s, right? Yeah. So but the content's still good. But it is funny to watch the life cycle come back to where people neglected what was proven because they only went for what was new. And now the old proven things have deeper meaning, deeper value, deeper connection, and a little bit of nostalgia too. Like you're playing on so many healthy things when it comes to life cycle and customer management. So
yeah. And the other thing I would also just to add to that is just what do you naturally save in life? My dad still has his 8-track tapes. He has records. He has no means to play them. But like, why are we saving these things? You don't buy Monopoly and play it once and then throw out the game board. It literally is a container that holds the experience, and you keep that for decades. I play the same Monopoly set that my mother played as a little girl because she just never threw it out. That's the power of physical. And when you're intentional with how you engineer that design, I want to take up real estate in your house. I want to be top of mind.
Yeah, no, it's really powerful. Give me some fun case studies of what you guys have done. I think it'd just be great to share some of those.
Totally. No, the one that like we just launched to market and we're playing with this last year, 57 hats. This is one of our own products, but the reason I highlight this one is it all started with the simple idea of, do I understand as an entrepreneur how many hats I'm wearing in my business? And do I understand how many hats my team is wearing? And as our business started to grow, I started taking hats off of teammates, and they instantly went in this state of, did I do something wrong? Do you not value me anymore? And I'm like, no, I hired you to be in your zone of genius. I don't want all these ancillary roles taking away from you just focusing on your zone of genius. And so to create a product, we leverage cards as a modality and a game board where you can literally thumb through and say, these are the hats that I'm wearing in my business. Different cards represent different roles. And then we'll take you through an exercise for you to determine, should I do this, delegate it, or delete it from what I'm doing? And just to give people that context, it's a cool front end. And this is an acquisition play for us to get clients into our ecosystem. It's been such a cool case study because people come to us saying, I didn't know this was a role. And if I now know it's a role, now I need to find out, like, bring in the support to fill that role. Just the awareness around it has been crazy. And then to hear people say, I feel like I'm wearing 57 hats, just the vernacular to create this concept. But that's what we're playing with right now. And it's been so much fun to release to market. We've had so many different use cases, from software as a service that leverage it to get people beyond the trial period. How do I gamify the first 15 or 30 days to get you utilizing the platform, which has a massive impact on the valuation of the company itself, all the way down to courses, virtual events, onboarding for doctors and lawyers. So many different use cases, but 57 Hats has been so much fun to play with since it's been so new. To see people go, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was doing this. And now that they do it, we have a back-end solution to help you staff that role, or giving you the tools and resources for you to go out and hire the role yourself. So simple way of using a product to, bring awareness to ancillary services that we have that we can support at a deeper level.
Yeah, I think what's fascinating with 57 Hats is it's almost like an individual product, where most people, if they're selling a back-end service like staffing, they're not thinking of having a completely standalone product that technically could be a profitable business on its own as a front-end offer. And it reminds me of one of my long-term clients, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah, because the book Rich Dad Poor Dad was only created to help sell the board game Cash Flow.
Yeah.
And most people don't know that, because most people know the book and not the board game. But the book was just a primer so that people had the right mindset in playing the game. It just happened to be a really well written book, and Sharon Lecter hit it out of the park when putting it all together for Robert and the team. But it's just a perfect example of how, if you do the front end well enough, it can stand on its own and just feed the rest.
And what's cool is that a lot of these products don't need to be overthought. You probably have one simple framework. This was one simple framework that we just brought to life as a physical product. It's not meant to be something that takes more than 15 minutes to go through, because I want to accelerate you and bring the awareness right away, and then send you where you need to go to best serve you next. But that problem aware is really powerful, and again, doesn't need to be over engineered.
And I see, like, I'm looking on your guys' site, and you by product type, you have associations, awards and recognition, board games, book launch, a bunch of different things. And when I saw book launches, I thought back through the hundreds of authors that I've had on the show. Most of the time when I have an author on the show, they'll mail out their book. Maybe 1% to 2% of them, the book is done well. And I mean, I don't mean the book itself. I mean the way that I receive the book. And I can visually think of the ones that were right, and they had a box, and it had like kind of the cover it, and you open it up, and there's a presentation, and there's some secondary material along with it, and it's nothing crazy or out of the board. They're not doing like a 1,000-piece unboxing, right? But it made the entire experience significant, instead of just, well, here's another Amazon package that showed up today.
And even with book launches, I mean, if you look at a book usually has different parts, part 1, 2, and 3. Each part has different chapters. Even with that simple structure, I can take out elements from the book and bring it to life as frameworks and supporting resources. So we can make this whole book box experience that as you go through the book, if you're asking them to do certain things, the tools are already in the box for them to have the outcome. So there's just so much to play with here that, again, doesn't break the bank. But it just provides a little bit more of the action behind the product. Because at the end of the day, for a lot of these books, it's how do I educate you on how I can best serve and support you for you to take the next step Part of it is just making it a little different than what you see.
Yeah. Just being able to stand out from everything everyone else gets all the time. What are some things that you're just most excited about with your business these days?
Yeah, there's so many different technologies, and for me, I think that a big theme that you're seeing right now is hyper personalization. And so it's almost like, can I bring this box experience to life with almost its own AI or digital platform that as they go through, they can accelerate the key learnings faster to get a result faster. So it's just, how are you playing off physical and digital? I love QR codes. Part of the reason I love QR codes is that I feel like we still haven't scratched the surface. I think COVID did a good job indoctrinating us on how to use a QR code.
Oh yeah, it saved them for sure.
At restaurants, scan the menu. Yeah. But like, what you don't know is QR codes you may or may not know, they can be dynamic or they can be static. And if it's dynamic, I can take a QR code and put it on a water bottle and set the permissions that if you scan the water bottle on Monday, it may be the Monday workout. But if you scan it on Tuesday, it's the Tuesday workout. So all we're using is QR code as a means to beam content or information, and it can be ever evolving with one QR code. So it's starting to play, when I hear like a sticker or a magnet, I can create a magnet for you to put in your fridge, but if you scan it every month, it could have a new theme. It could be new at-home recipes for the families that constantly is changing out. But this idea of turning physical products into these living products that evolve, to me, is one of the easy ways to really play with technology meeting physical products. So it's things like that that get me really excited, that doesn't cost anymore. A QR code's a QR code. It's just the innovation around how you're interacting and using the experience.
It was really hard for me when you ran through that example to not sit and go through hundreds of like ideas of like, oh my goodness, like I've never thought about that. And I have a lot of ideas. And so that says something. I love that idea of dynamic QR codes and just the hyper personalization. I really think that's what the next wave is going to be. Especially, it's like, how do you fight against AI? You make sure that it is relevant and real to the person receiving it, right? Like they have to know that it's for them, right? That's really cool.
There's so much there too that we have not even scratched the surface on.
Yeah, give me another case study of just like what you guys did. Like, find like, who was your dream client or a client that you just really felt like, man, this was such a win?
Yeah. Oh my God. We have so many right now. One of the ones that I'm really excited about is we have a lawyer that is in the personal injury space. And his whole thing was, if people would just take the steps I need them to take, then they would get the maximum settlement as a result of whatever accident they were involved in. And we literally just took his onboarding process and gamified it. This is one that was incredibly on brand. So this is the thing. Every experience is going to be different because the brand identity, who you are, is different. What makes sense for you. But what made sense for this client was he wanted something that almost looked like a Candyland board that had 5 parts that literally, as they progressed through the different milestones in this onboarding process through getting the settlement at the end of the journey, there was an envelope at every core milestone that they got the chance to open, and the tools and resources of what they needed to focus on at that time were in there. So that for me is like a use case that we hadn't even considered on how can you make something that feels heavy, like going through a lawsuit, be fun and entertaining and almost feel like a game, and getting people to want to take the next step to complete the next end of the cycle. So it's just taking a common mundane situation and giving it new life, and we're leveraging it through a physical product. So that is one of my favorites, just to see the results and then to get the feedback to be like, okay, how this is being received from his clients is incredible just to see. And it's the same way of doing business. We just put in a little bit more of an experience on the front end that made a huge difference for this client in such a heavy space.
Yeah, no, that's a neat idea, because usually the digital marketers and us, we're thinking about the more fun businesses or info products or things like that. But to think about, a personal injury, someone's going through a really tough time, and find a way to lift that a little bit and increase results, right? I mean, in the end, that person needs that settlement, but it can be such an emotional barrier to go through those steps. So to help them, it's a way to help, and that's just neat. It's something that you don't always think of when we're building business, is what are ways that we can just get out of our clients' way and help them. Like, what do they actually need versus what do we want them to do? And sometimes finding unique ways to solve that is just, that's really entrepreneurship at its core.
100%. Totally.
Yeah. What's in the future for you?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this beforehand, but one of the things that we're really excited about, we have built so many different types of card decks, and it's been amazing that so many clients of ours have been asking us, can you do an Oracle deck for us, an affirmation deck, trading cards, like when you were a kid, the baseball cards, and leveraging that in a business domain, whether it's prompt decks are becoming a big thing people are asking for, especially in this age of AI. But the way you can leverage card decks is something that we're exploring a little bit heavier, and we just acquired carddex.com. So for us, it's going to be a big go-to-market play to say we have Custom Box Agency, but if this is something that you really want to do is build your own custom card deck, whether that's a front-end acquisition play. And I see so many things online from Pip Decks, which is more business strategies. There's also sales objection deck that I've been seeing a lot lately online, but just to see how people are doing this as a front end. It's exactly what we did with 57 Hats, which is also a deck. Playing with and really owning the domain around carddex.com will bring to life this whole nother avenue for our business that for us, we've been nerding out to. And I'm just excited to bring attention to how you can think strategically about something even as simple as a set of cards and how that could be such a game changer. And again, I don't think about just sending a deck of cards, but can I put QR codes on these cards that connect the physical to the digital realm in terms of the value that you can do? And especially with the tools and resources online, there's so much back end you can build out so quickly to just take that experience as an easy, low cost front end in your ecosystem that we're just excited to explore further.
That's awesome. Yeah, my entrepreneurial brain is going a little bit crazy right now, just going through like all these ideas. But Mark, we were catching up before. Both of us have gone through a lot these last few years in terms of like getting back into our health. And to me, business is just a small part of life, right? Like we do this so that we can live. What's one item on your personal bucket list that you're going to accomplish in the next 12 months?
Such a good question. We both, I know, have been through a massive physical transformation. On the brink of turning 39, so this was 2 years ago, I read an article that said the average human lives to 78 in the US. Men live less than women, women live longer. And when you read an article that says the average human lives to 78 and you're 39 at the time, it kind of put me in this tailspin of like, I am literally at the midpoint of life. And I'd like to believe that I'm going to live a lot longer than 78, as long as I'm willing and able and capable of getting around. But that was a wake-up call. And part of it is you're correct in the sense of like, if you find yourself stuck in your business growth, shift to your own foundation body. Because when you start to optimize your foundation, it impacts your love and relationships, it impacts your business, impacts yourself. And it's been incredible to see these last 2 years, just the amount of self-love I've found throughout this journey. For the personal side, I'm going after my 8th Spartan trifecta this year. I love doing Spartan races because I love getting muddy. But really, physically, this is the year I'd like to start to bulk and put on some muscle. So I'd love to add probably another 10 pounds of muscle on the frame to really solidify that. But that's like heavy on the and then for me, I need to prioritize love. So I got to find my life partner and take my life to, go down that adventure as well. So
that's a big one for the next 12 months. We're going to keep a close eye on this.
I know, like, trust me, like this is one that like it's long overdue, but I will say that the amount of self-love I've found in just respecting myself, and that's something that we should all strive for, is being in a position of, are you doing things that are truly respecting yourself, respecting your body? Like it's taken me almost 42 years to figure it out for me. But no,
all I hear through all of this, Mark, is an invitation. If you're seeing this and Mark seems like a cool guy, slide into those DMs. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. So
yeah, you must love corgis or dogs. And I love outdoors and I love being in Texas. But
there it is.
I'm up for the adventure. So
I love it. Mark, thank you so much for coming out on the show and sharing us with a little bit about what you're doing with Custom Box Agency, and the congrats on the acquisition of carddex.com. I'm really excited to see what you do with that. It's been fun watching along the journey. And to all my entrepreneurs out there, wherever you're watching, listening, or tuning in, it's your turn to go out and do something.